Crime Stoppers program for 3.5 years, back in 2002 to 2005. It's the best program that I've ever worked with. It's the best thing I've ever done on the job. It's an amazing program. It's a community charity program. It's run by the community. It's not run by the police. And it's community members from all walks of life that have come out and want to make a difference in their community. They want to prevent crime. They want to solve crime in the community. And the people that I've worked with in the community are the nicest people that I've ever worked with in my life. They're still my friends today. I still go out for coffees with them. I still talk to them about solving crimes. But Crime Stoppers is definitely with the community. It's not a police program. And that's the big myth out there, is that everybody thinks because as a police spokesperson for Crime Stoppers that it's actually a police program, when in fact it's not. The officer usually is in a suit so that it doesn't show that it's a uniformed officer speaking about the program, just to try and let the community know it's really a community program. If they see that uniform, they think it's a police program, when in fact it's not. And you don't want to know how Crime Stoppers works. It's very basic. You call into your tip or you text it. You send it online, and you provide the information to the Crime Stoppers program. And that tip is given to a police officer. But before the person hangs up or that, they're given an ID number. And that ID number is to say, listen, if you want to call back in like 3 weeks to a month, we'll investigate the tip. The police will investigate the tip. And then call us back and we'll let you know how that tip was, whether it was a good tip or a bad tip. So a person will call back in a month, and meanwhile, say the homicide squad will work on that tip. And the homicide squad will contact Crime Stoppers and say, you know what, that was a fantastic tip. It helped us assist in solving that murder. And it was imperative that we had that tip to assist us. So the tipster will call back in a month and say, yes, I'm tipster 1234. I sent in that tip a month ago. And I'd like to know how the tip was. And we'll say, well, you know, that was a great tip. We're going to put it towards our board, our Crime Stoppers board, and say, give us a call back another week after our board meeting, and we'll tell you how much money that you're going to receive. So after the tipster hangs up, they have their board meeting, and then the board will get a presentation by the coordinator, and the coordinator will say, you know what, I spoke to the homicide squad. The homicide squad said this was a fantastic tip. It assisted in solving the murder. As you as the board, I know it's up to $2,000. I would lean towards the high end of paying out for this tip, because without that tip, I don't think they would have solved that murder. The board will say, okay, we're going to give them $2,000 for that tip. Well, how does that tipster get the money? Well, that tipster first and foremost has to call back and say, you know, I'm tip number 1234. I called in on that murder, and they'll confirm that, and they'll say, yes, the board has approved an amount of $2,000 for that award. And you say, well, how do I collect that money and stay anonymous? Well, that tip number now becomes a bank account number. In Toronto, you can go to any Toronto Dominion bank anywhere in the Toronto or actually in the GTA area, and we'll provide you with a bank number of a particular bank branch that we deal with. That tipster will go in. They will bring in and say, this is my account number and this is the bank number. They will automatically pull it up, and they'll say that person needs to be paid $2,000 cash, no questions asked. They get their money, they walk out of the bank, and that's it. We never deal with that person on a face-to-face basis, and they'll walk out the door with that $2,000 cash. And that's how the Crime Stoppers program works. Years ago, when it first started, they used to meet in a park, and they'll say, I'll meet you in a park, and I'll provide you with the money, and I'll meet you at such and such a place, and they kind of just do the envelope behind your back type thing when it first started, way back when. But now it's obviously gone to greater lengths now to protect the program, and because of the amount of tips that they get coming into the program, they're able to get the money to them quickly. Remember, Crime Stoppers tips are an investigative tool only. It's not evidence. So when you get that tip is just a stepping stone to start your investigation. It'll say Bill Smith committed that crime. Well, that is not evidence, so you can't just put that into a search warrant to go in and say do a search warrant in somebody's place. They'll just say that Bill Smith did that crime, and then you're going to have to do all your usual checks and balances to try and figure out why Bill Smith did that crime. How is Bill Smith party to that offense? How is Bill Smith connected to that offense? And then it just gives you a bit of of a stepping stone. Crime Stoppers has come a long way over the years. You know, first it started with the phone, and then it started with the computer, 222tips.com, and now it's gone to text messaging, it's gone to Twitter, it's gone to Facebook, and this is how it goes. You got to keep thinking outside the box, constantly thinking outside. When you're the coordinator of the program, you are in the inner sanctions of the workings of the Toronto Police. In this particular case, you know all the information that they would know, and you try to assist them in solving the crime, to try and stimulate the public to get that information out there. So what you do is, and I've done the Louise Russo case. We did a reenactment of the crime when Louise was shot. We actually went to the scene. We did a reenactment of the crime. We actually dubbed in the actual shooting where Louise was shot, and we put that out to all the media to try and get more tips coming in. In that particular case, we knew about information about where the suspects were and where they traveled at times. What we did with that particular case is we actually had a bus that they would go up and down the street, and we had the signs created for the actual bus, the TTC bus, showing the picture of Louise with the Crime Stoppers number. So every time the suspect would go up and down that street, he would see that sign on the bus. We had them on the bus shelters. We had it everywhere, just to put it right in their face. We'll even go to door suspects we know have done the crime, or witnesses. We'll stick the Crime Stoppers information underneath their door to try and stimulate them to give information. But you know, with Crime Stoppers, the first thing that you got to do is that the Toronto Police, they need live witnesses. So when we promote the crime, we don't say to them, you know, just call Crime Stoppers, call Crime Stoppers. We try to get the people that are witnesses to say, hey, you know, first and foremost, call the police, because the police do need live witnesses. Step up to the plate and give that information to the police. But if you don't feel comfortable with going to the police, then there is an alternative, and that's Crime Stoppers. You can call 416-222-8477 or 1-800-222-TIPS, 222tips.com. You can go onto the Facebook and the text messaging, the Twitter. I mean, it's gone such a long way, but it's constantly, you got to think outside the box. And the key for Crime Stoppers is the school Crime Stoppers, is to getting the message out to the kids, as we know, as parents and aunts and uncles, is that if you get the information out to them, then they'll provide the information to they'll learn how to do it properly, and then they'll continue.
Thanks a lot, Sergeant Jeff Zammit, former Toronto Crime Stoppers coordinator and Toronto Police Officer 14 Division. You're a credit to your community, Jeff.
Remember, Crime Stoppers, you're solving crime one tip at a time.